Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing a pretty different video. It's gonna be my second geography video, and we are gonna be learning about the road system in the United States. So it's a pretty there's a lot of people who don't really understand the roads. They just kind of use the GPS and they just go where it takes them. So in this video I'm gonna be kind of teaching you all about the system, how it works, how to navigate it, what roads do are different things, whole in and out explanation of the road system in America. So let's get right into it. So for me, I would consider there to be 6 different types of roads. So you have named roads and streets, you have county roads, state roads, federal roads, interstate highways, and toll roads. So let's go through every one right now. So we're in my hometown of Marysville, and we're going to be checking out the different examples of these right now. So let's go and see an example of a named street. So here we have Elwood Avenue right here. This road, it's just a named street. It has no numbers attached to it. It's not a county route. It's just maintained by the city of Marysville. It's not taken care of by the county or anything. It's all by the city. So that's why usually inside the city you won't find any county routes. Like even if you look on the major routes, 5th Street and Main Street, they're not designated as county routes. Pretty much most of the roads inside of your city center are all just going to be named streets, because those are the ones that the city actually maintains and builds. Next, and by the way, just keep this in mind, the roads can be more than one category. Like you can have an interstate that's also a federal highway, and that's also a state highway, but we'll get into that later. Next, let's move on to county routes. So let's go over here, and on Google Maps, county routes show as these little square icons with the number on them. So this is not actually how they look in real life. If you were to travel to different places, they would look different in different places. So there are some areas that have special signs for the county routes, like I believe Minnesota does. I might be wrong, but I believe they do. In my county, Union County, they don't even have a numbered sign. Like they just have a named sign that says Union County Route 137 or Union County Route 134. So it's not as obvious that it's a county route, but basically all it means is they're maintained by your county, whatever county you're in, or parish if you're in Louisiana. But yeah, not maintained by the state, but your county. Let's move on to state route. So we have one right here in Google Maps. These are going to be displayed as the little circles with the number road inside of it. So here is State Route 39, 739. So basically it's maintained by your state. So whatever state you're in, they take care of these roads. These are definitely larger roads. They have pretty major routes. Like if you're to follow the whole highway, like if we can see, like State Route 275 connects the cities of, goes for a while, but it connects the cities of North Lewisburg and Marysville. So usually they're longer routes, and they can go between counties. Like if you see a lot of these county routes, they're not going to go outside of the county. They pretty much just stop or convert to another county's routes. But state routes, they can travel all across the state. So you can even look at Route 38. It goes all the way down to like Washington Courthouse down here, and then it goes all the way through London, not in the UK obviously, and it keeps going up and it ends right here in Marysville. So definitely getting into some longer routes. Now, they can be a 2-lane road or they can be an expressway. They can be either one. So, it doesn't always guarantee, they're not always consistent with the type of road that they are, so keep that in mind. Moving on, oh yeah, also another thing about the state routes is that every state has a special sign for them. Like, they're not just gonna appear as like these circles when you're actually driving on the road. So for Ohio, which is the state that I live in, the sign for the state routes is an outline of the state. Or if you're in Florida or something, then the outline is just another outline of the state. If you're in Texas, then the state route sign would be a rectangle or a square that has the word Texas and then it has a number below it. In Wyoming, they have a yellow sign with a buffalo on top of it for the state routes. California has a green one that's kind of shaped like an oval. It's a weird shape. I don't really know how to describe it. Nevada has the state outline. Like, there's just so, New York has like this kind of lemon shape. It's weird. I don't really know how to describe it. Pennsylvania, I believe, has arrowheads. Like, it just differs so much from each state. But yeah, every state has their own sign. Some are more creative than others. I'm not gonna lie, I think Ohio's looks pretty cool with the state outline. But yeah, also there are different ways that they number the state routes. Like in Ohio, it's pretty random. They just use like 2 and 3-digit numbers and they just number them like that. There's not really a system. And then if you go down to like Kentucky, you can see we have like State Route 1017, which you'd never see in Ohio. We don't have 4-digit routes. And then if you go to Florida, they actually do have a numbering system. Most of their state routes, their major ones, like especially if you look in Miami, they're all signed as an 800. They start with 8. So we have 869, 864, 34, 817, 870. So they have a system here. They don't have a system in a lot of states. You have to check your local thing to find out, how your routes are numbered. But a lot of states, they don't really have a system in place. Now, finally moving on, we have the federal routes. So we have a lot of them. They're definitely like very, very major routes, like multi-state routes, most definitely. So here in Marysville, we have Route 36, Route 33, and then if you go south enough, you can find Route 42. All of these are federal highways, and they're maintained by the federal government and not the state that you live in. So a lot of these routes, they have a numbering system. That's one thing. And then the next thing is so the thing is, they are not very consistent with how they're done. Like, if you just looked at the state route, the federal routes, you cannot generalize them to say, oh, it's a state route, it's a federal route, it's gonna be like this, or this route, it's gonna be like that. So if you look at it, let's go into Street View just to give you an example of this. So if you look at Route 42, it's just a 2-lane road, just like that. But if we go to Route 33, right here, we can see that it's actually an expressway with exits and all that stuff. You can even see the exit signs in the distance. So they're pretty inconsistent with what they are. You have to watch out for that. Some of them might be highways, some of them might not be highways, so beware if you're on federal routes. And that also kind of applies to state routes, though it's definitely less common to see a state route highway, expressway kind of thing. It happens sometimes. Alrighty, so let me give you an example of how long the state route is, or the federal route. I keep mixing them up. So let's see 23, Route 23. So let's follow it all the way up here, and it looks like it goes up into Michigan, all the way up here. So it looks like Route 23 happens to end right here in Mackinac City in Michigan. Now if we go all the way down and we keep following it, we continue to follow it for a really long time. Oh man, see right here, Route 23 in Georgia, and it just keeps going down. And to my knowledge, I think it ends in Jacksonville. So that's just crazy to think about. Route goes all the way from the top of the Michigan tip all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. And it's actually the longest road in the United States is a federal highway. It's Federal Highway 20. Where is it? It starts in Newport, Oregon, right here. This is where it starts, and then if we follow it all the way through Wyoming and everything, and I know it goes through Cleveland. I think we can find it through here, and it keeps going along the coast of Lake Erie, and there it goes through New York. It just goes on forever almost. And then it kind of follows I-90 when it eventually ends, I believe, in Boston. Don't think it gets any farther than Boston. So yeah, all the way to Boston to Oregon. Like, that's just crazy. Definitely some top level crazy long highways. So, like, don't get confused if you're driving in another state and you see the highway with the same name. It's the same highway. Alrighty. Now, you remember what I said about the federal highways being inconsistent? Well, President Eisenhower really considered that when he was in office. He was like, oh, our highways are awful. Like, they're all signed as the same kind of road, but some of them can be like dirt paths and others can be full-fledged expressways. So we need to make a standardized system of freeways that goes all around the country, and then that was the birth of the interstate system. So if you see all of these highways that have the blue and red shield, that is an interstate highway. That's funny, this is actually the Dwight D. Eisenhower Highway, Interstate 70. But basically, these are the systems of large highways that just span throughout the entire country. So basically the numbering system is, the numbers get, alright, it's pretty complicated, but as you go east to west, all of the routes going south to north, like that, are all, so they all end with a 5 and they get progressively larger. So let's look at an example of that. Here we got Interstate 5, here we have Interstate 15, here we have 25, 35, don't think there's a 45, actually there is, but it's down here. In Houston, 45, it's pretty small. There's 55 right there, and 65, and 75, and then 85 right here, definitely a smaller highway as well, and then 95 right here. There's also a similar system going from south to north. The numbers all end with a 0, and they progressively get bigger as you go north. So here we have Interstate 10, Interstate 20 is in the south, so you got Interstate 10, Interstate 20, and 30. Interstate 30, where is it? Right here. There's Interstate 30. Interstate 40 is right there. There's no 50, and there's no 60. There's Interstate 70, Interstate 80, and Interstate 90, and that's the farthest they go. So that was the original design, and then from that design, they then went and made some smaller routes in between. So a good example of this, probably Interstate 94. So it's a larger number than 90, meaning it's more north, but basically they split right here in Billings, and I-94 kind of goes off of 90 and goes through the northern area, through North Dakota, then Minnesota, and then it goes down to like Chicago, and then ends in Detroit. So, and then we have another example of this with I-84. It basically goes off I-80 and then connects to I-5, and then I-82 connects to 90. So there are some routes in between. You have to keep that in mind, like I-76 between 70 and 80. Just a bunch of different things like that. Now you might be asking, oh, well, in the city where I drove around, there are interstates with 3-digit numbers, so what about those? So let's go to Columbus here, and you can see we have Interstate 270. Now, basically what these are is they're spur routes that go off of the main interstates. So, like, pretty much the main interstate in Columbus is Interstate 70, so they just put the number 2 attached to 70 so that it's symbolizing that it's like the beltway around the city. It's an extension around the city off of the main 70 interstate, and you can also see that on Interstate 670. So usually how they do it is the shorter the route is, the higher the number is. So like 270 is pretty low. It's a pretty large highway beltway around the city. Then 670, it's a larger number. It's just a small route. Goes from I-70 and goes through here, and then ends at the intersection with 270. Basically how spur routes work. So we can go look at some examples. Let's go to Buffalo. I think this is a pretty good example. So I-190 is just a massive interstate. Like, it goes completely off of the main highway all the way through Buffalo, then goes to Grand Island, and then to Niagara Falls. Massive spur route. That's why it has the 1, the smallest number, because it's the longest spur route. So then we have 290, which is a lot shorter. That's why the number increases. And then we have 990, which is just absolutely small, and it's actually an unfinished project, but that's for a whole nother episode. It's 990 because it's really small, way smaller than the other routes, pretty much. So now we move on to the thing that makes the whole thing complicated, is that the routes can actually run. Oh, we missed one. We missed the toll routes. So toll routes are basically like toll routes and turnpikes. Let me adjust that. Basically like privately owned highways that you have to pay to drive on. So, good example is the Florida Turnpike or whatever. So it's right here, Florida's Turnpike Toll Road. Basically, it's the turnpike that runs off to the side of the main interstate, and basically if you just want to pay to bypass the traffic on the main interstate, then you can. Basically what it's for. So privately owned, the government does not maintain it, and yeah, basically the whole description of a toll route. You can find them in some places that have pretty heavy traffic, but in most routes in the United States you won't be paying any tolls, which is a good thing. All funded by the government. So So, yeah, there's also another example, the Ohio Turnpike on its toll road. Now, that mentioning the Ohio Turnpike moves us on to the next point, which is what makes the whole system confusing. Basically, routes can run concurrently together. So if you zoom in here, you can notice that it has the sign for 80 and the sign for 90. That's because this route is both Route 80 and 90, but they're just running together on a single highway. So it's weird because you're going on Route 90, but you're also going on Route 80, so you have to keep that in mind, that the routes can run concurrently together. And especially in my town of Marysville, there's a really good example of that. So basically, you have Route 36, and it basically, the route goes onto the highway. So now this is Route 33 and Route 36, both of them. And then here's Route 4, and what it does is it goes onto the highway as well. So now this is Route 33, Route 36, and State Route 4. Then you go to this intersection, and Route 36 and Route 4 exit the highway. Now it's just Route 33. But if you keep following this down, you have Route 36 and State Route 4 on the same road. Now, if you continue to go down, you can see that they separate. So we have a separation. This is now Route 4, and this is Route 36. But there's definitely something to keep in mind, that they can run concurrently. Now, for signing, interstates pretty much have the same sign, like you should automatically recognize it. It's the only like colored sign, except for the toll routes, which have colors on them, but they're pretty rare. Pretty recognizable, just the blue and red shield. Some states, if there's like, sometimes there is duplicates of highways. Like if we go in the before mentioned I-76 in Colorado, if we go to Pennsylvania, there's also an I-76, so watch out for that. But how they basically avoid this confusion is that in the red portion of the interstate shield, they would write what state it is in, so you know. And by the way, the Route 76 and the Route 76 in Pennsylvania and Colorado, they're not the same highway, they're completely different. That is why they have the shield with the state name on it, so that you know what they're talking about, which is nice. Also, I did not cover this, but the signing for the federal highways is the same in every state. It's the same shield that shows up on Google Maps, except in California where they use a different style, but it's basically the same thing. So yeah, that, my friends, is the American highway system for you. The whole thing, in and out, explained. So hopefully you guys have fun with this information. You're now an official American road expert. So see you guys in the next video. Like and subscribe. Bye.